month ago, James Edwards from The Athletic reported that the Boston Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Dallas Mavericks have expressed interest in Isaiah Stewart. They're all looking for a stretch big for their teams. Everybody wants Isaiah Stewart, and he's probably not a starter on any of these teams, but he's part of their rotation. And then going into the playoffs, when teams, cut their rotation back, he's probably going to be a part of the playoff rotation. And it makes sense for all three of these teams. Isaiah Stewart in a bench role would be fantastic. I just don't think he's a full-time starter in the NBA. You guys have heard me say that before. I I'm going to eliminate one team already, Boston. I just don't really like what Boston has on their team. They do have a really well put together team. I just don't know if you're getting close to the same value for Isaiah Stewart if you're going with Boston. I'm kind of interested in Sam Hauser because he's a guy that can spread the floor and he does play decent defense for the Boston Celtics. That's a name I would look for. But outside of that, obviously you're not getting Tatum or Brown back in any of these trades. You're not getting Holiday. You're most likely not getting Al Horford. You're not getting Kristaps. So I haven't really looked at Boston's roster in a minute, but I know Sam Hauser, that was a name that had piqued my interest a little bit, even though but I'm eliminating Boston. I don't want to trade with Boston. I'm looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder, and there was an article written by Bleacher Report's, what's his name? Eric Pincus, I believe is how you say his last name. I've been known to get names wrong, so I do apologize. But he says a less expensive name to watch is Isaiah Stewart with the Detroit Pistons. While they just traded Marvin Bagley III to Washington, if Detroit is open to moving the 6'8" forward, they can probably get a strong return from Oklahoma City, draft compensation, and perhaps Trey Mann or Usman Dang. I'm not interested in trading with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to make it very clear. Unless you're going to give multiple first round picks back for Isaiah Stewart, I don't want Trey Mann. I'm good with Trey Mann. I don't think it's a huge upgrade. He's a 6'3" point guard. He's played 13 games for the Thunder, averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And that's me rounding up. Now he is shooting 50% from the field and 42% from the 3-point line and 100% from the free throw line. But his career numbers are 40% from the field, 34% from three, and 78% from the free throw line. And his numbers have dropped since his rookie year, where he was getting 23 minutes per game. Every season it's dropped. He's out of the Thunder rotation. They have no use for this guy. I don't know how him coming to the Detroit Pistons, who are already loaded, and I'm not even going to say loaded with talent at the guard spot, just have a lot of guards on the roster already trying to get minutes. I don't know what adding another guard to the mix does, especially one that has underperformed since his rookie year. I mean, if the 42% from three was legit, yeah, you might consider it, but he shot 36 his rookie year and then 31.5 his second year. In the field goal percentage, both seasons was at 39%. So I'm not buying it. It's not something that I want from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then Usman Dang, excuse me. The only problem I have with that is the Pistons, they don't really have a great track record for Usman Jang, excuse me. They don't have a great track record for developing guys. Now he's a power 46, 10, 216 pounds. He's played 22 games this year for the Oklahoma City Thunder and shooting 42% from the field, 30% from three, and 83% from the free throw line. Career averages of 42, 28, and 71. So there's a little uptick in there from him. Those could be legit. But again, it's the Detroit Pistons, and I don't trust them to take a prospect like this and develop him. I don't know what that guy was thinking writing that it would basically be a fair trade or an upgrade or whatever. It really wouldn't be. I don't even know who I'd want from Oklahoma City that's sitting on their bench. Maybe Isaiah Joe, But then we're getting back into the conversation of how many guards do you need on this team and who rises to the top from these guards, you know? I mean, you already know you got Cade and Jaden Ivey, but with everybody else, I don't know what you do, you know? So I would have to say I'd be out on the Oklahoma City Thunder trade. Now, the Dallas Mavericks one, I'm going to pull up one trade. I'm a little interested with the Dallas Mavericks because maybe you can get Grant Williams back, and I know he's only getting paid about 12 million a year, I believe, after signing that contract with them. His numbers haven't improved, but this is a guy that he has showcased an ability as a defender, as a guy that can space the floor, and a guy that can, he can play the 3 or the 4 in the NBA, even though he is a little undersized to play that 4 spot. Decent rebounder, like I said, can get after it defensively. And again, another guy that can space the floor. If you're going to get rid of Isaiah Stewart, I want a guy that can play one of those forward spots and can be, you can set him out on the perimeter and he can do a little bit of work. That's what I want in return. So there's this trade proposal basically by NBA Analysis. And here's what they said. Here's their trade package. So the Dallas Mavericks, they would get Isaiah Stewart, and the Detroit Pistons would get Greg Brown and a first round pick for Isaiah Stewart. I'm not yeah, it's Greg Brown the third, and then a 2027 first round pick, lottery protected from Dallas. And then the Dallas Mavericks, they get Isaiah Stewart. I'm kind of interested in Greg Brown, but again, not for Isaiah Stewart. I feel like these trades have really undersold Isaiah Stewart's value, not only to the Pistons, but what he brings to other teams. This is a guy that can spread the floor. He's shooting 36% from three. He can protect the rim. He's has good footwork where he can make when he switches, he can make things uncomfortable for guys on the perimeter. We've seen the highlights. We've seen him do this before if you watch the games. Isaiah Stewart, he's a pretty he's a pretty good defender when it comes to that. I'm not going to say he's elite, but he is a good defender. And I just think if I'm the Pistons and I am going to move on from a guy that I think many of us consider as the heart and soul of this team, and a guy that maybe he's not a building block, but a guy that can help out the team in the future when he's playing in that perfect role, which I think is the backup 5 spot. I mean, man, we saw him play with the second unit, getting touches in the post, shooting the 3, spacing the floor for Asar Thompson. It looks like it could work. But what I'm getting at is I don't want a prospect. I don't want a project. I don't want a reclamation player coming to the Pistons for Isaiah Stewart. If I'm going to trade Isaiah Stewart, and this is a big if I'm going to trade him, I want a player that can contribute right away. That is what I'm looking for if I'm the Detroit Pistons. It's sad and it'd be pathetic to get a reclamation project back. We've had to do that way too many times as fans. I don't want to sit through it. I don't want to give hope, whether it's Usman Jang or Greg Brown. I don't. I just want a guy that's going to help the Detroit Pistons. I don't want another guard. I would be looking into Isaiah Joe just because, dude, that's like the perfect name to be a Piston, Isaiah Joe. Come on, let's be for real. But other than that, I'm not really as excited in any of these trades. I'm just not. There is one more that I found online, and I'll read it for you guys. Just give me a second to pull it up. So this is with the Sacramento Kings. And I think this might be the best one. So the Detroit Pistons would receive guard forward Chris Duarte in a 2026 first round pick lottery protector from Sacramento. Then the Kings would receive Isaiah Stewart. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Isaiah Stewart and Sabonis would be one lethal combination in the front court. That would be so much fun to watch. You have that finesse, that playmaking from Sabonis, and then you have that ruggedness, that toughness, that hustle from Isaiah Stewart, a guy that doesn't back down from anybody. That would be honestly a great fit for the Kings. And I am interested in Chris Duarte. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's a pretty solid player, man. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right now, and this just kinda sucks. I just basically talked myself out of it just by looking at the numbers. So he's played 34 games for the Kings this year, averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, shooting 36% from the field and 31% from 3. I always had yeah, his rookie year with Indiana, 55 games, 39 starts, averaged 13 points, but he was shooting 37% from 3 and 43% from the field, but then it just dipped to 37 and 32, and then it's even worse with the Sacramento Kings this year. You know what? I'm gonna have to pass. I had not looked at Chris Duarte's numbers at all. I just remember him being like a 6'6" to 6'8", 3 or 4 that could hit an open 3 and spread the floor for, your guards, and it doesn't even look like he can do that anymore. I'm not even gonna talk about that trade. All of those teams you can't have Isaiah Stewart with the packages that are apparently, coming up. And I'm just going to tell you, I don't even think those are any of those trades were actual reports. I think those were just writers coming up with like, hey, this might work, and this is why we think a trade would work. I'm just disagreeing with them. I don't think it would work. I need something better back for Isaiah Stewart.